No new COVID infections reported in Muskoka. Free childcare for frontline workers expands. And you can start growing in community gardens once again. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for April 29th. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. Well, good news for Muskoka once again, as no new cases of COVID-19 were reported in our area. We're still sitting at around 17, with one person in recovery. Meanwhile, the province saw a major slump in confirmed cases as well. And Education Minister Stephen Lachey announced new frontline workers that would be able to get access to childcare today so they can continue to do their jobs.
The Premier made clear we must do whatever it takes to assist those on the front lines, to give them the relief they deserve as they work around the clock throughout the COVID-19 outbreak. We've unveiled a program, as many provinces have, to provide emergency childcare to those workers. Since we first unveiled that emergency childcare program on March 22nd, we've taken a staged, cautious, responsible approach to ensure safety remains paramount. And I'm proud that Ontario will support more frontline workers today by expanding that list of individuals who are eligible to receive emergency childcare in this province. And the list includes staff in grocery stores and pharmacies, those that work in retirement homes, Ontario truckers, the Canadian Armed Forces, and those that support Canadians who are deaf or hard of hearing.
And shifting the focus north, as of Monday afternoon, just one active case of coronavirus in North Bay Parry Sound District was reported. But has enough testing been done? That continues to be the common concern among area residents. We posed that question to Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Jim Chirico.
The latest data from the local health unit says that 180 tests were completed on Monday alone. It appears that testing for the coronavirus is ramping up.
Initially, there were problems provincially and globally with trying to get enough swabs as well as the testing capacity in the labs. But that has all changed, and now we have a real effort moving forward to do far more testing.
And what needs to be in place for that to happen?
Well, in order to do that, right now our focus is going to be on long-term care homes and retirement homes to get the staff and the residents done. So there's a lot of logistics involved to arrange that throughout our entire district.
Right now, are any people being refused for tests that come in saying, I have these symptoms, are you able to test me?
When they have symptoms, we're pretty much referring all of them to the testing centers. And it's then up to the clinician, after they do an assessment, to decide if they need to be tested or not. There's pretty wide spectrum of symptoms, and so for the most part, if you're symptomatic, you will get tested.
Meanwhile, the latest modeling from Health Canada was released today, and it is encouraging. The social distancing measures are helping. However,
we have to be very careful, and we cannot assume that things are over. They aren't. We know that community spread, that there may be a little bit of, has been some flattening of the curve, and so that's very encouraging. However, the main problem right now are the outbreaks that continue to rise in long-term care homes. They're the most vulnerable. They're the ones that we've seen a significant number of deaths in. So that's going to be our focus right now. So we don't want to let up on the distancing measures. We still are advocating and pleading with the public to stay at home, only go out for essential trips, and to really practice social and physical distancing. It's still very important to do to protect the most vulnerable.
Now, shifting focus away for a moment from COVID-19, a car crash in Huntsville that involved police last year finally has an update from the Special Investigations Unit. An SIU investigation into a crash involving the Huntsville OPP has been closed with no charges laid against officers. Last August, 2 people were injured when the Audi they were in crashed into a parked vehicle along Main Street West in Huntsville. According to the SIU, the driver was signaled to pull over at a ride check stop in Huntsville, but instead of stopping, the driver sped off and nearly struck the officer. Police pursued the Audi, but gave up the chase, and shortly after that, it crashed, injuring the 32-year-old man and his 24-year-old female passenger. The Special Investigations Unit has found there are no reasonable grounds to charge the officers involved in the chase, as they did not cause the crash. And we're taking our first break, but when we come back, we continue the conversation we've been having this week with Muskoka officials about the plan to reopen Ontario's economy. Stay with us. Welcome back. And we are continuing this conversation about Ontario's plan to reopen our economy. Joining me now is the Executive Director of the Huntsville Lake of Bays Chamber of Commerce, Kelly Haywood. Kelly, thanks very much for taking the time.
Hi, James. Thank you for having me.
So Kelly, as mentioned, the province has rolled out this plan without a specific time on how to basically reopen the economy, and it's in a three-step process. Now, there isn't a lot of detail in exactly which businesses will be allowed to reopen as this process moves on. The only really thing they said was businesses that could keep up with the health guidelines. So first of all, I just want to get your perspective on what this layout means in terms of local businesses.
Well, I mean, I will start by saying it was an incredibly vague framework, if you will. So I don't have a super strong opinion about it, except I can say that we were already anticipating something similar based obviously on other provinces, but also anticipating that certainly, the first things that are going to come out are going to be ensuring that the businesses are well prepared and equipped to operate safely. And that brings a whole new sort of bucket of issues, if you will, to a lot of business owners. I mean, hand sanitizer and things like that, particularly industrial type hand sanitizers for clients or customers that might install on a wall or freestanding, that sort of thing, are in extremely high demand, as are, gloves and that sort of thing. So, that's something that we've been working on already, is the procurement, much larger than Huntsville district-wide. And I know both Norm Miller and Scott Aitchison are working on that with us to try to find ways to ensure that our businesses are prepared and will have the equipment needed to deal with this. Outside of that, there's other considerations like, if it is the retail sector, for example, that opens anytime soon, downtown Huntsville, for example, what will that look like on the streets if you happen to have lineups down the sidewalks? Will the sidewalks be one way? There's a number of things being looked at municipally in that regard. So lots of considerations for sure.
Kelly, one thing that did stand out to me with this was the mention of service industries within, it looked like the second phase, being able to reopen. I'm assuming that means the dining room specifically being able to reopen at a lot of these restaurants. Now, if we look at how this timeline could play out, even if this rollout started, a month from now, that would be about a 2 to 3 month waiting period for these restaurants to fully be able to reopen. Do you think that our restaurant industry, the local restaurants especially here, could survive another 3 months without getting, full business?
Gosh, I mean, I hope so. I've certainly am in touch with a number of restaurant owners. Some are in different phases in their ownership of the restaurant. Obviously, some have been established for a very long time on their buildings, whereas others have just started. There's some that are considering starting still. So that's a tough question. I think that I've seen a lot of incredible resiliency in the business community. With the curbside pickup, there's delivery. I live way down Limberlost Road, and I had delivery on the weekend, which was pretty awesome. That was coordinated by a group. So I think with the resiliency that we see, I think it's possible, but they'll have to be creative. I think personally, if I were to make a bet, I would think that we won't see the service industry, particularly from a restaurant perspective, be in full, opening until at least the end of the year. So there's going to have to be some very significant adjustments.
Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, Kelly, and again, I noticed this on the rollout, was that even at the third phase, which is the final phase of this rollout as it stands at this point, they're still not allowing for large-scale gatherings. And that, to me, seems that we're not going to be seeing any type of downtown events, which, honestly are what local businesses thrive on in terms of making their money, especially over this summer. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, definitely. We as a Huntsville marketing group are looking at, maybe trying to come up with a really fun Christmas party, and we're not thinking anywhere before that at this point. I mean, it's a tricky one in that we'd love to see the opportunity for these types of events to take place, but on the other side of the coin, obviously we're so cautious and aware of how important it is that we don't do that to not spread the virus. I think that, again, also tricky. I think Muskoka and Huntsville in particular is in a really enviable position where I think we'll see a lot of, Ontarians and Canadians want to come north. I personally don't know that we're going to have too much trouble with the people wanting to be here. It'll be more about, will we be able to service that group of people when they come, and will the businesses be able to deal with them? So I'm not as worried about the events. I think the event holders themselves in some cases are going to find some struggling situations with respect to sustainability for their event. If they're losing a whole year of revenue, it might be tricky to start an event like that. But for the chamber and the BIA, for example, I think we'll just hold ours back, and Maple Festival, all those things we'd be looking at doing next year at this point. So we'll have to come up with some creative ways to really engage visitors, much more digital, much more signage and that sort of thing. And events are just going to have to take a back seat for this year.
So my final question, Kelly, is about streetscape, which is, I know it's a tense subject right now, but we need to talk about it because it's expected to come next summer. And we're already having a summer season of loss here in revenue. We could have a projected another summer season of loss in revenue at a time when businesses are already struggling. Will there be any conversation at all to possibly moving that forward, do you think?
Yeah, I know that that's being discussed, that there's a possibility that it could be bumped to the year ahead for downtown in particular. We know that King William is in the middle of doing their thing, and the timing, I suppose, is good for that. The businesses along there, it's tricky, but I think everyone's very cognizant of how important it is to give our businesses the opportunity to come out of this. And I really hope it's bumped for a year for sure. That's the goal.
All right, Kelly Haywood, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Well, community gardens have just been added to the essential services list in Ontario. But how will that be implemented with gardens in Muskoka? Well, Your TV's Samantha Johnson went out into Gravenhurst to find out.
The province has allowed us to have community gardens and has listed as an essential service, but we're still waiting to find out what the rollout will be. So of course it'll be, keeping our distance, our 6 meters or 6 feet apart from each other. It'll be, hand washing. It's very important because as you see behind us, the gardens that are here are far enough apart that, you could have 3 or 4 gardeners in there to be able to stay a safe and equal distance apart. But there's the taps, the faucets that we have to worry about and, turning them on and off. Tools, please bring your own tools. I think that's the most important thing to do. Or, we just need to really think twice about what we're doing in the garden. And, it's that little extra added step, but I think that, now that it's open, we can start. And, planting is after the May 2-4 weekend. I always go by the new moon, and that's in June. And right now there is a fee of $25 for the community gardens. And then after that, but we have several other community gardens around town. So there's several located in behind Trinity United Church, Gateway Church. The Gravenhurst High School has some great boxes, and some other of the local businesses in town have offered up their garden space. It started last year with the Gap Community Garden. So Gap will be taking over 10 of the gardens here, garden plots here, and going from there. But there's several gardens, and it produces a lot of produce. And this is the second year that Gap is doing it. And it helps to provide, a good source of food. And that's the other thing too. A lot of people that have heard about Gap gardens or community gardens are even producing food at home. They're growing the seedlings on their windowsills and in greenhouses and homemade greenhouses just to get things started so that we can have, because we didn't know where the province was going to be. We didn't know if we were going to be able to get produce or started seeds and things like that. So now we know at least the garden centers will be open again with special measures taking place. Curbside pickups, I would imagine, what'll be part of it. But we're waiting for the province to let us know what will come down and how we will be able to handle taking care of the gardens.
Well, coming up next, you can find out more about how you can support the Table Soup Foundation and other organizations in Muskoka. Stay with us. Welcome back. A major fundraiser is set for this weekend and that Your TV Muskoka is proud to support.
Hi, join us for a one-of-a-kind stay-at-home gala on Saturday, May 2nd. The Muskoka Virtual Gala will join hundreds of Canadians from across the country and will host all of the familiar elements of a gala. Local and national music, game-changing speakers, and even the option to have a gourmet dinner delivered right to your door. The Muskoka Gala will be time to unite people from all across Muskoka to strengthen and support each of our community's efforts to help with our healthcare workers, our food security programs, and even vulnerable women during this difficult time. Social distancing at its finest. So, don your best and log on, let's party together. To register and to learn more, visit trellis.org, Stay at Home Gala Muskoka. Cheers.
Help us to help provide the equipment we need during these challenging and difficult times.
Hi there, it's Catherine Crane from Huntsville Hospital Foundation. Please help us as we help our frontline healthcare workers during the COVID-19 crisis. Everything you do will be so appreciated. Thank you, and be safe.
Please help us to assist vulnerable women and children during this difficult time of COVID-19.
On behalf of all food banks in Muskoka, we want to say thank you to our amazing community and donors who keep thinking of us, who bring food, who donate online. We're so grateful for you all. Thanks for not forgetting us.
And with that, we're taking our last break, but Briar Summers returns to give you another taste of Muskoka on Stage, Quarantine Edition.
Are you looking to break away from the monotony of being stuck inside? Well, why not check out one of these great shows coming up in Muskoka? On Thursday evening, you can tune into some local beats by joining Hunters Bay Radio for Quarantines, which will feature a new local artist every week. This week, it's Matt Allen. Head over to the Hunters Bay Radio Facebook page to get more details on this online live show. Get your filling of folk from the comfort of your home with the Young Novelists. This Toronto duo will be performing for Muskoka's entertainment fans through Zoom on Sunday, and you can find more details by going to the Huntsville Festival of the Arts Facebook page. And get your tickets now for a very special virtual concert from Twin Flames. Twin Flames pushes the boundaries of contemporary folk with Indigenous Inuit-influenced songs that incorporate both Western and traditional instruments. Tickets are on sale now for this May 10th concert through Huntsville Festival of the Arts, which gets you access to the private Zoom presentation. If you're still not sure about this amazing duo, here's a bit of what you can expect during the virtual show. to tune in again next week for some more awesome virtual shows.
And that is Cogeco News. For more information on the program, head over to yourtv.tv or connect with us on social media by searching Your TV Muskoka. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Remember to catch us live at 5 Monday to Thursday, and from everyone here at Cogeco News, thanks for watching. Stay home and stay safe.